We are continuing our shiurim in the Sefer Daas Tevunos, holding still in Siman Mem, paragraph Mem 40, here with David Goodwin in Ramot, in Zichron Avraham, and as always these shiurim are nishmas, Daniella Daniella Sheina, Yehoshua Falik. Okay, so we're holding in a very complicated paragraph here, a very lengthy response from the Seichel, and we're holding by this discussion of the idea that Hashem allows this bad to happen, allows the Ra to take place. Again, we're going to just throw in a few of the things that we've put here together already. The Ramchal, he allows the Hester Panim, the hiding of his face to happen, and he may allow this to happen even until the lowest possible point, until the worst possible point, but still through that all, that will not stop him from, on a dime, turning around and saving the world, saving Klal Yisrael, bringing the world to its shleimus, if he wants to, on the spot. A person would have the ability to connect himself to Hashem, through his actions, through his mitzvahs, through his deeds, and through his recognition of Hashem and his emunah. What does that mean? It means for a person has the ability to understand that anything that is the opposite of this, anything that is the opposite of godliness, which again either is connection to Hashem or fulfilling Hashem's purpose and design in the world, which means again, just in other words, adding to the yichud, right? That's basically everything boils down to. We're either adding to the yichud, adding to the revelation of all the oneness of God, or we're doing something that is causing more lack in the world, more chisaron, more hester panim. That's always the two things. Ra, those are the two options. So a person, what does it mean? They're going to choose God by not choosing evil. They'll see the Ra, and they'll not choose that, they'll not choose the bad, and they'll cling to Hashem. If people would just do this, that itself would bring about the yichud of Hashem, because everybody would be declaring for everyone to see, all of this Ra is not what it's about. It's all about God, it's all about clinging to God, and that would be the revelation of God in and of itself. They would bring the salvation themselves, because they would have belief, they would accept it and bring that shleimus into the world. That's what they're doing. He wouldn't have to show it to us through the lengthy exile and through all of the collective punishment and suffering that we've gone through. If we know it, we know it. We don't have to have it shown to us and proved to us by all sorts of tzaros, whether we're going to see it now through the tzaros like some people do, or like you asked me about after, some people don't see it until afterwards, and will only then understand how the Holocaust was necessary and the right thing. But that's only because mankind as a whole is not in the place that it should be. If mankind would be where it was supposed to be, so then everything would be fixed. Since they already had the option for bad, and they denied it, and they would cling to good, and they would leave the bad, and they would cling to the truth of God's yichud, to the truth of God's singleness, oneness, so then everything that needs to get done would be done. Because that's the whole point to begin with, is only for people to get this idea, to realize this idea that there's only one God. That's the whole point, would be that. Now he's going to show us a very fascinating thing. He's going to show us, we always know that Adam HaRishon himself was supposed to be everything, right? The world could have just begun and ended with Adam HaRishon alone. So that means that Adam HaRishon's existence and his challenge and what happened over there is like a microcosm of all of us, because as a result of the challenge that Adam HaRishon went through and failed, all of us are here picking up the pieces and doing it. So now he's going to zoom in and start speaking to us about Adam HaRishon. Hello, Tiri, don't you see? Adam HaRishon atzmo, kach karalo. This is exactly what happened to Adam HaRishon. You have to understand this idea very well, what we're saying now. Ki im lo haya bori HaKadosh Baruch Hu olam ela al tzad hatov below tzad hara klal, Because if God would have created the world only with good, without any possibility for bad at all, so then again, we would have no concept of bad. We would not be able to picture, to form Ra in our mind. There'd be everything would be perfect. We would only experience perfection and shleimus. And therefore, we wouldn't be able to understand the idea of Ein Od Milvado, right? Because in order to know what Ein Od Milvado is, you have to entertain a Milvado. You have to, in order to say there is no other, I have to be able to entertain what another is. How do I entertain something? I have to experience it. So therefore, we experience the Ra, right? In order to give us this challenge to entertain, right? It's just the same idea that he said in different ways, in different times. But now that there is evil in the world, so we can understand what that is, right? And it is part of our experience. And we do have the opportunity to be fooled into thinking that this is another force in the world, another force in the universe. Or we have the option to, again, to deny it and say, no, this is also godliness, right? We keep on saying the same thing over and over. We need to say it a lot of times until it sinks in. Yep. And through that, understand God, understand Yichud, because again, Yichud is there is no other. So once I've experienced the other and had the ability to deny it, that's all that I need in order to understand Yichud. Right? And he's going to say this is exactly what Adam Harishon's experience was, exactly this. Adam Harishon, Kfar Haya Roe Hara. So Adam Harishon was put into a situation where he had the ability to understand Ra. Right? He had an Aveira, not to eat from the Eitz Hadas Tov Hara. So that means that Adam Harishon was put into a place where there was something forbidden to him, something challenging his perception of a perfect God, right? If God is great, so why doesn't He give me everything? If God is perfect, why don't I have everything, right? So the idea of a prohibition, something, it's a lack, it's a chisaron, that Adam Harishon had to be mistader with, had to deal with. And just that one thing, but he was able to convince himself that no, it's the right thing to eat it, even though God said no. Right? But there's another cheshbon. What does that mean? That's denying yichud. God said don't eat it. I'm going to come up with some other reason, some other rationale. They saw that it was so delicious. So they saw that there was a place to err, to make a mistake. The snake was putting all of these ideas in their head and say, God told you not to eat that because then you're going to be like him. That's denying yichud, undermining yichud, right? Undermining the idea that there's only one God. That's what the whole challenge of the Eitz Hadas was. To accept godliness is complete and total, and even this thing that he told me not to eat, that's also part of the shleimus, and I have to see through it. Or the snake telling me, no, there's another way to look at it over here, an ungodly way to look at it that will also make sense. Go do that. Adam Harishon was a very, very smart man, a very wise man. He should have looked into this properly. He understood in his intelligence this idea of what we're saying, that he should have accepted God's view. He knew that in his seichel, that anything that is contrary to God's dictate is sheker, right? That's ra. Yeah, miklal hara shebaruhu yisbarach. That's part of the negative, right? Again, anything driving me against God is part of the ra, and he knew this. Adam Harishon. Again, he just summed up the whole Sefer into this one line, right? The whole point of the ra is lehudia amita sichudo, in order to be able to teach the truth of his yichud, to test the person, yeah. In order to give him reward, right? That's the whole Sefer summed up right there, that one line. And if he would have stood in his emunah, Adam Arishon, he would have not been swayed by his Yetzirah. He would have strengthened this emunah. Okay, we'll have to see further what happened to Adam Arishon and why it is that he didn't see things this way.